good lady. She's a poster, but she's never run a national campaign, certainly never a presidential campaign. The guy that was there, yeah, and then the guy with Breitbart News, I don't know that he helped him. I think Trump just got to meet Trump, and I think he needs to know what they're going to do before they do it.
We're back in 70 seconds. The Dr. Steve Pachenik's coming on. Stay with us. We have specials at InfoWarsStore.com that end in the next few days, like 20% off on the Parasite Cleanse. Stay with us.
Hey everyone, Mark's Bad News here.
I said it's the wrong person. It's the person who would repress and suppress Trump's dynamics. The one I liked was Corey Landowski because he understood what Trump was about. He said it very succinctly. Let Trump be Trump. And even Trump said it repeatedly. But when a man like Trump gets cornered and he feels that he's being controlled, he will either make mistakes that he normally wouldn't make, or he would begin to get very resentful. And that's what I predicted would happen. And he in turn became realigned and resurrected, so to speak, and said, I've had enough. I got to get rid of all these people. I don't want to pivot. I don't need to pivot. And whether he hears our station or not, people like myself, people like General Flynn, Mike Flynn, who I knew, and others, and Roger Ailes, whom I've worked with on the Bush campaign, came in to make him become what he always was.
I was about to say, I think this tripling down to go brass knuckles is the way to go to supercharge the populism. That's what brought him to where he is. And we see hysterical fits now by the controlled press with their dwindling audiences. They're putting out fake polls, you name it. What is your gut, but also just your political gravitas, tell you about what we're facing, what dirty tricks they may pull?
Well, they're going to be pulling every dirty trick in the book. Number one, they will create the third party with Dr. Jill Stein to siphon off some of the discontent on the liberal side, but really come back in. They'll create the party again of the libertarians to siphon it off. So we have a nadir phenomenon in that whole Bush-Gore campaign.
2000, yeah.
Then they will hit Trump with the ads that you've seen, that he's not stable, he's not more mentally capable of handling, and then you see the old ads that he has to be responsible for the nuclear bomb, and then they juxtapose it. That's not going to work. That's old Hillary.
Sure, they're going to 1964 stuff, Barry Goldwater with a girl picking the daisy and the nuke going off.
Correct. And the biggest mistake, and I have been actually the legacy of it, a 2000 psychiatrist called Barry Water crazy. And in subsequent to that, I had stated to the American Psychiatric Association publicly that Bush Sr. had a medical problem. He could not run again for the presidency because he was vomiting. And in turn, I left the American Psychiatric. You can see how the different establishment organizations, Council on Foreign Relations, the American Psychiatric, the American Medical, all come down to maintain a certain repressive code of conduct that's consistent with fair policy, not consistent with the American character or nature, but that's what happened.
Well, Dr. Pachenik, I agree with you, so let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Who are the different power structures now? The Patriots, the free market folks, what's left of the military, versus what?
It's interesting, Alex. In a way, what's been happening, and I know you don't like it when I compliment you and your audience, but in effect, what I've been saying for years on the radio as a result of 2014, as a result of the internet, as a result of your audience being able to cut into every narrative where it was nonsense, we have had a devolution of power. In other words,
back to the states, back to the people, the media's falling apart, all the real metrics. I want to get into that, but let me ask this question then. After that, then why is the power structure trying to prop up a corpse like Hillary? Go ahead.
Well, you can't prop up the corpse. That corpse, one way or the other, will not sustain itself. If, in fact, she gets through the debate, she will not be able to physically or mentally serve a term in the presidency. The Secret Service knows that. Those physicians who've treated her, I know that. And, in fact, what she has done is to appoint her surrogate, Tim Kaine, from Virginia, who's totally a Democratic operative or political hack, who's had ostensibly experienced as a congressman, a governor, and a senator. I have nothing against him, but I have nothing that would laud him. And in turn, she appointed another Senator, Salazar. So what you have is a repetition of a staid, corrupt system through the Democratic Party.
So the fact that they would put her forward despite all this shows their arrogance or their disconnection or their dottiness?
It shows the fact that the system is so entrenched and it is so corrupt that if you were to unwind the Clinton Foundation, you would probably eliminate 3/4 of this administration.
Sure. Do you have any intel or what's your view on what WikiLeaks says they have that'll bring Hillary down?
Well, there are certain things that'll bring it down. I mean, James Comey, for example, was part of Hogan and Hart, the director of the FBI, and Hogan and Hart, was a famous law firm. Sandy Berger was a lawyer. Loretta Lynch was a lawyer. And the chief of staff for Hillary was a lawyer, Cheryl Mills. All of them fired in subsequent cases. Let me tell you this, and I think he may be leaking it. One, Sandy Berger committed a felony when he stole the classified paper. He came underneath the director of the FBI, Comey. Comey let him off on a misdemeanor. Petraeus, 2 felonies, came off on a misdemeanor. Hogan and Hartson had created the company called MDX Logistics in Denver. They did the patent.
Hold on, I'm sure this is important. Stay there. We've got a break, Dr. Pachini. Come back and explain the inside baseball and what's going on. But undoubtedly the most epic time in American history, in world history. We're into Russia. What does all the military drills mean? Putin threatening military action in Ukraine. It's all coming
By
up.
now, you know the smart way to buy emergency food storage is calories per dollar. Ready Supply Foods sells you 50% more food for your money. GMO free, 25-year shelf life, great taste and free shipping. You need 2,000 calories per day under ideal conditions. Most 30-day kits don't have enough calories to sustain you for more than a week. They took years to document, sir.
Already of Shine Williams, the West Coast, and she wanted to know why this strategy developed. In the same way, another strategy that was developed where with 43, who in terms of his dynamic, Bush Jr. in terms of Al Gore, Gore was a far more intellectual individual than Bush Jr. And it wasn't that he was smart or stupid, it was simply that Gore liked to articulate and talk a lot. And so what we did was to take Bush's weakness, make it into a strength, which was his paucity of response.